Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of Vitasta Dialogues. And today we are discussing about the environment, about sustainability. But we are not taking the didactic angle. We will be talking about all of these themes through stories. And I have two very, very special guests with me today in the conversation. I have Wing Commander Srikant sir and Indrajit sir, who are storytellers, and their book from breadth to belonging is a compelling call to reconnect with earth through awareness and responsibility. From breadth to belonging basically blends mythology, history, spiritual wisdom, and stories. It is a very interdisciplinary take on environment, conservation, and sustainability. And I am so excited to talk to both of you, sir, and know more about your journey. Thank you so much for joining us in this discussion.
Pleasure.
Yes. So,
Thank you, Vinny.
just so let's start with the conversation. So, both of you are published authors now, and you both come from a very solid corporate background. And of course, then stories happened to you, and you became published authors. So, how did this journey start for you? What was the motivation for writing? And what are some of the key highlights of your writing and publishing journey? So, Srikant sir, would you like to start?
Yeah, it is a 25-year passion to see a book uh, authored by me and be available in the stands, right? So when you go with your parents while in school and when you browse the bookstore and you pick up one and say X book by so and so, why can't that so and so be me at some point of time in life? And been nursing this idea for 2 decades, and work and family and move and travel keeps you busy. And at some point of time, you got to make it as a habit. And it is not about, it is a discipline where you got to set time, sit and write. That's the it, and that's what Indrajit and I have been industry peers for about 10, 12 years, and we know each other. And we've been panel speakers in the Hyderabad, Bangalore, Pune, Chennai circles in the facility management domain. And over a period of time, we developed a vibe to participate, or to write research papers, to write in the academic journals. And then one fine day, it happened that let's write books on sustainability. And our first book was ESG, a roadmap for corporates. And what we decided was write a book for corporates on sustainability, write a college textbook on sustainability for MBA students, and write a book on climate change for common man. So all three subjects. So practically, if you see, the corporates and the academic are largely a subset of the common man, if you see, right? So this book, Breath to Belonging, is for the common man. It has got no technicalities, no. We just, as we researched and talked and brainstormed and fought and argued over the years, um, we just thought, honed in on an idea with a 5,000, 10,000, 12,000 old civilization. All our scriptures, all our uh, not only Indian scriptures, global civilizational wisdom must have something, because every civilization talks about earth. And if you're talking about earth, protection of the earth comes as part of it. And every civilization would have a wisdom that says, be kind to earth. And why don't we take the stories of that, the spirit, essence of that, the wisdom from that, and link it to today's climate change? That was the spirit of bringing this book. And lot of reading, lot of research, and lot of new knowledge, because we are not, both of us are not that religious. You got to get into, from the Vedas to the Scandinavian civilization. If you got to know, there is immense amount of research that we had to do, and it was a amazing journey. Indrajit, with you.
Thank you so much, Srikant. I think you've summed it all up. The one thing that I'd like to share is we've realized that sustainability as a topic is something that everybody's concerned about, but often people are not clear what they can do. So one of the things that we have tried to do is broad-based sustainability, and this book is one of those efforts to make sure that we get this out in the form of stories, in the form of wisdom from through the ages to the current generation and people who are interested to understand how we are impacted by the earth and what we can do to preserve it. So it's a story where we talk about listening to the earth. And that is essentially the key that I would like to um, focus on for today's discussion. Is it's about a conversation. It's about listening to the earth and understanding what it is saying. So back to Shrikant, with this thought, because this is something that we've been nurturing for a long time, and is something that we are very keen to focus on.
Yeah, the H2 writing also started with writing about 1,000-word stories. Take one human emotion and weave a military story around that, and then post it on Facebook. And keep seeing for the next 3 or 4 days how many likes you got, much to the ire of my wife, actually. Get out of Facebook and likes will keep coming or not coming. That's a different story. But you, I, in that process, wrote about 40, 45, 50 odd stories of these 1,000 words, and then slowly, why, if this can come in, why can't a larger book come in slowly, both of us, and interacting with the Inderjeet, and let's get into the core subjects, for the corporates, for the academia, and for the common man. That's how it came. Yeah.
I think it's a great motivation. I love the Facebook analogy. I'm quite, I'm sure it is certainly a very good validation when you get so many likes. But trust me, I'm
Likes.
glad it led you to this beautiful project that we are talking about today. So both of you mentioned about how stories are such a big part of what you do, not just in the corporate space, but also in your creative space. And when I read the book, one of the things that really stood out for me was the workshop style in which the narrative is structured. So that is actually one of the USPs of the book as well, because it's not didactic, it's not instructional, it's actually an interaction, a conversation that's happening through a workshop model. So, how did you conceive this narrative style, and what is the story behind that?
The moderator here in this book, we try to make it like a workshop. And if a person picks up this book and starts reading, the person is actually participating in a workshop. A workshop is conducted by one Mrs. Lakshmi, and she asks you to close your eyes, imagine yourself sitting in the banks of a river, imagine yourself sitting in the banks of a, sorry, in a mountain, or in your garden or somewhere else, and then try and and when she asks you to sit in the garden, she makes you see biodiversity in that place. When she asks you, and suddenly she brings a guest lecturer into the workshop while the earth itself comes to speak to you. And for example, I'll just narrate a story, something like, when the earth was parched many years ago, and Bharadwaj Muni went and did his penance to Brahma, and Brahma opened up Ganga into the earth. The flow of Ganga was so harsh that the earth was about to have, what do you call, there was a major problem in earth because of the force of Ganga. So what did Shiva do? He came and captured Ganga in his locks. And what did Shiva do was, we know the story, the spirit of the story is this, and Ganga started flowing properly. It didn't end there. Shiva split Ganga as 7 rivers, and each of those rivers are existing even today: Ganga, Haladini, Pavani, Saraswati, and 3 more. And what did actually Ganga do in today's context? He did major water management, right? He did rainwater harvesting, or he did water management. The spirit of water management is runoff water should be made to slow down, slowing water should be made to trickle, trickling water should be made to stop, right? What did Shiva do? Actually, he caught Ganga on his locks and made the water to flow efficiently in earth. And this is the spirit of today's um, water bunds and lakes and man-made rivers, man-made lakes and ponds and dams. All are the basis to what Shiva did. So when you construct a dam today, you are a little bit of Shiva, right? That's how we try to deduct water management into this story. Inderjeet, if you have to say something.
In fact, like Shrikant put it very beautifully, we've also talked about Samudra Manthan, where when both the Devas and the Asuras came together to churn the ocean, the first thing that came out was the poison. And in the current context, that poison is in the form of the gases that we emit that's warming our atmosphere. So we've tried to draw parallels from mythology and connect it to the current challenges today so that readers are able to understand how issues like these have been there for perpetuity, and it's always a human endeavor to try and solve them. The idea is to establish that there are problems, but there are also solutions, and we can be a part of the solution. So that is essentially the key message that we have tried to put across, is that we as individuals often we are not aware of what the impact of our individual actions are. But what we do not see is if we are able to act responsibly and people around us do the same, that's what is cumulatively contributing to a more sustainable environment. So that is the mindset that we need to develop. And one of the things that we've also tried to focus on is the ability to listen, because today, in the age of social media, in the age of a lot of digital distractions and information overload in the form of chat GPT, for example, or some of the media platforms that we access, we are losing our ability to listen if we are able to just close our eyes and sit down and just be. We can understand what we are today in this entire space. All of us are built from the basic five elements: air, water, earth, fire, and space. But I think we are losing that connect with those five elements that create us. And this is a call to action for us to just take a pause and start listening to those natural elements that are inside and outside of us so that we can become better versions of ourselves.
I'm glad, sir, you mentioned this because listening is such an underrated skill, and which is why I particularly loved the title and the cover of the book. Because I think anybody who's even looking at the book at a bookstore, the way in which you have presented this idea of listening and connected it with nature and Mother Earth, I think that is something that highlights the beauty of the book so much. So, how did you come up with the title and the cover of the book? And what were some of the, say, ideas that you had in mind back then? And was it able to translate into the final version? So, just a sneak peek into the creative process.
I know that's
So
Shrikant's favorite, so I'll let him go first.
we named it as a working title. Initial was Whispers of the Earth, right? So, and only if there is a medium, the whisper can be heard. The air is the medium, right? So, and from and if there is the whisper comes out of your own breath, right? And we just didactically, in fact, we worked with Vitasta too on this. And didactically, when you keep going backward, what is the source for whisper is practically your breath, right? And when you have breath, only you belong, right? And because without breath, there is nothing actually. So and with so with that as that in mind, from whispers of the earth, the So who is whispering was next. The intent was, when you are doing a workshop, to orient the common man about having a softer approach towards Mother Earth. The spirit of Lakshmi, who is the moderator of the workshop, was she is going to bring um, Mother Earth into the conversation, and Mother Earth itself herself speaks to the reader. And when that happens, and during those speeches are practically whispers, right? And the earth is whispering through her breath. Are you listening? No, no. So when you listen, when you imbibe, then you belong to this Mother Earth, and you have an attachment to this Mother Earth. And that was the spirit of how the whole thing was. Um, um, the title of the book came up. So it was
And
it's a long,
and I think,
long
to Shrikant's
Indrajit.
point, I think one of the things was, we so the narrator Lakshmi, she is positioned as somebody who is a more aware individual, right? And what we have tried to do is showcase that you don't need to be superhuman to have that level of awareness. And that's what she's trying to do throughout the story, is help more and more people get that level of awareness where they understand that they belong to this earth. And it's the breadth of all of us cumulatively which is enabling us to have a life on earth. And we need to be able to, as a civilization, we need to get that sense of belonging together, the sense of ekatma, the sense of vasudhaiva kutumbakam, where, today, and I'll give a small example of an experiment that was conducted recently. The Commissioner of Police of Malkajgiri conducted an experiment where she stood in the middle of the night from 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. to understand the level of safety. What was interesting is there were 40 men who approached her, but none with the intention of protecting her. And this is the spirit that we are losing today as a country. This is the same country where just about 80 years back, people gave up their lives to protect their fellow beings. We won this freedom with a lot of effort. And I think today we are starting to take that for granted. And we are doing a similar thing towards our approach to nature. Today, we are focusing on our conveniences as opposed to what protects those that support us. So I think it is that awareness that we want to bring back in today's age of digital information. We want people to understand that there is something which sits behind that. And unless you understand that space, you could be very successful at a tangible level, but there's something that keeps gnawing at you, which is why we see a lot of people burning out very early in the current generation. So it is with that mindset that we have tried to bring in this aware person in the form of Lakshmi to get that sense of belonging to more people, so that we as a country, we as a state, as a city, we take care of each other, and all of us together take care of the environment which protects us.
I'm glad you brought this point, sir, because that brings me to my next question as well. Because one of the things that's very enriching about the book is its interdisciplinary nature. Like you've talked about the environment, but then it's not just from one angle. You've brought in stories, there's history, there's spiritual wisdom. There is so much that the readers can take away from the book. So, how was that process like for you in terms of research and in terms of, say, bringing out this research into such a cohesive book?
Yeah. It's no more new. For the past one odd decade, a lot of companies have started talking about E, S, and G, right? ESG, environment, social, and governance. This book is just not about climate change, climate change. It's about ESG. And it is ESG, once you talk, it's a Western concept actually, brought from there, those standards and all those sort of things. But it is so much imbibed in our culture and daily way of life. There is you could have easily adopted it and driven it much on. For example, when we were researching about this, when Rama is crossed the Ganga during his Vanvas and staying at Bhardwaj Muni's ashram, Bharata comes to meet him, right, to take those Paduka and go. Right. I'll cut it short actually. When he comes, both the brothers Kai, Rama doesn't even know his father has passed away. The both brothers hug and cry and moan and all those sort of things. And finally, Ram gives his Paduka and he goes away and he rules for the next 13 years on behalf of Ram. But before in that intervening period, there is Valmiki Ramayana, there is close to about 700 shlokas. It's a 40-minute conversation one-on-one between um, Rama and Bharata as to how you need to uh, rule. And that 10 or 12 points, the gist is purely ESG, nothing else. One is the head of the family should not sleep in the afternoon, right? It is it is so important. Actually, what it is not about sleeping. It is means be biased towards action. Be biased towards positive action. Surround yourself with good people or who are better than you. Uh, ensure that you have women in your main group so that you have diversity of thought. It is corporates may we talk about DEIB, right? And ensure that your revenue is more than expenditure. Ensure that you care for the welfare of the people. Ensure justice. All this, when you type sustainability development goals in Google, you will get a template of 17 squares, various colors ka 17 squares. It talks about water, it talks about quality, it talks about land, life on air, life on sea, urban quality, emissions, all those things. Rama's 40 points, Rama's 40-minute conversation is practically those 17 points today after so many years. So we just had to link it from there. So the idea was, point is, the difficult part was we know today's subject, but we didn't know this conversation has happened between Rama Bharata actually. So researching via YouTube, listening to podcasts, doing a lot of reading on all those sort of things, and then trying to link that to this, and then that's the work of art that I think between the three books between Indrajit and me, I love this the best actually.
In fact, Vinny, you asked about the process. So, when we were writing our first book, because we came from corporate and we realized that there was a lot of talk about sustainability, but no book which would help a practitioner actually implement it on the ground. And that's where, we wrote that first book, which was relatively technical and focuses on specific areas that corporates can use to implement sustainability in their organizations, as well as professionals who want to come into that space. But during that book writing process, we realized that there is a much broader need to write about sustainability in a language that everybody understands. And that is when we chose the language of mythology to tell our story, and we use the narrative storytelling concept because we feel that it is important that readers feel that they're going along with the book and they are connecting to the past wisdom across ages, across space and time, because we have picked up stories from across the world so that they get a sense that there is momentum and also feel a sense of ownership in terms of what they can do to improve the state of climate in the world today. So I think our own journey has also evolved from writing that book for corporates to writing about the general audience, and the other book that we are doing for business school students. I think this is a journey that we ourselves are undergoing as we have been doing that research, as we are looking at a lot of information. We can also see our own thought patterns change. And that's something that's been very interesting is when you start writing, you are writing for the audience, but you are also yourself evolving as an individual. So,
Absolutely.
it's that journey that's quite interesting for both of us, because today, when we have our conversations, it's very different from when we started out writing our first book. So, I just wanted to share that because for a lot of people, I know today they're very keen to get their thoughts out there. They want to, be authors themselves. I think using this understanding will help them also see that it's a journey while you're writing a book for a particular genre, for a particular audience. It's a journey within yourself also that you go through.
I'm glad, sir, you mentioned about the intrinsic journey as well, because I am particularly very curious to dive deeper into it more. So, Shrikant, sir, you are a veteran, you come from, say, a defense background, and Indrajit, sir, you come from a very, very solid corporate background. So, how much of that has influenced your writing? Like, what are some of the values and some of the skills that you actually implemented in your writing career, and how were these two different? So, just wanted to have a comparative analysis of both of your lives.
Yeah. I've I've given up writing more than I have actually completed. You start a book, go halfway, go 50 pages, go 100 pages, and then yeah, it's not working out. And that happens, right, with many authors, when you start. And I truly wanted to write fiction at some point of time, and then that also military fiction. And you take my problem is I start writing, I reach a particular point, and then the next plot which I have to write, and once I start writing, hey, this particular scene to ye movie mein aaya hai, this particular scene to o movie mein aaya hai, will it be a copy paste, those sort of things, and then it stops for a while, then there is a 2 week break, and then the whole thing goes to a dump. Actually, it never proceeds. I think I have started about 4 or 5 such things and stopped in between. Then, then I suggest when we talk to each other, what we thought was let's codify, because we both are from the facility management real estate domain, and and if you go and do a catalog search, there are no books on this topic at all, be it foreign or Indian, and especially if you take a book on sustainability, or they just take off at a different plane, and they speak at 20,000 feet view. Um, and let's pitch ourselves, come to Mother Earth, and start writing what a professional should do. Right. That was the first process, and then this came up. This was somewhere near fiction, actually. Right. So you take inferences from somewhere, link it to somewhere, and then but make sense out of it, and then slowly it has evolved. And over a period of time, because of this habit of continuous writing for the past 5 or 7 years now, it's developed a habit, something like I must write at least 3,000 words a day before I go to sleep. So um, and it can be on any topic, but cogently things have started falling in place, and then um, books getting published. That's the way it is. You got to say, if I want to write a short story and want to release it every Saturday, you got to make that effort for the remaining 6 days to write, refine, iterate, correct, and then finally. So it comes out of habit, nothing, right? It's a very, very learnable habit. but it's you got to sit and write those words, and that's all. Yeah. And
I'll probably
that
give,
that comes from
yeah.
the military of mission accomplished, right? You got to mission accomplished. And they say the more you sweat in peace, the less you train in war. Sorry, the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. So that's what, you sweat in peace so that you are able to publish it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give another very, very different perspective to what got me into writing. I've worked in a lot of different sectors. Besides corporate, I've worked with the development sector. I've worked with academia, with startups, with the government. And one of the things that I realized during this journey was it's very important to document the journey that different entities go through. And in a sense, we need to make it very concise yet easy for people to understand, particularly when it comes to fairly complex topics like sustainability. And that was one of the drivers, when we were writing the first book, was how can we de-jargonize sustainability? There are n number of topics when it comes to sustainability, but for a specific reader, what are the things that are important for them? How is it practically usable? Those are the things that, you know, when I started on this journey of trying to bring in from my own experience of having worked with all of these different sectors, what is the language they use? What makes it easy for them to understand a topic like this? I think it's those life learnings that we have tried to sort of distill and bring into some of these writings so that whatever we have learned through our own experiences, not just corporate but beyond, is reflected in these writings so that when people read it, they know that it is coming from people who have experienced this, who have done this, who know that this is what needs to be done. And this is how you can develop a heightened sense of connect with the larger ecosystem around you. So I think for me, it was that personal journey that led to this interest of writing is where everything that I'm going through my own life, how can I distill it and share it with people so that they can go through their own journeys. So I think for me it was that piece which drove me, and of course that discipline that Shrikant talks about is very central to making sure that we get the writing in place, we make sure that the editing is done, that the publisher is finalized, we discuss and we have a timeline. So, there are these milestones that we must keep in mind. While the final output looks wonderful, what is important to understand is there is this journey that you must traverse, irrespective of the kind of book you want to publish. That is what leads to that success, not just the final outcome. So that's something that we need to keep in mind when we are going through that process of publishing a book.
That's very beautifully put, actually. Like it's really nice that you gave a very behind the scenes chaos sneak peek to anybody who wants to become a published author. Now that both of you have been writing in this space for a while now, and of course with the book being published, what is it that you think that we as an individuals can do to actually preserve like Mother Earth? So that is something that is a very important objective of the book as well, right? You want people to be more aware and mindful. So, any advice, any suggestions that you have for all of us so that we can become more mindful towards Mother Earth?
Indrajit, with you. Go ahead.
Thanks. In fact, I'm glad that you asked the question. So what we have done is towards the end of the book, where all of this storytelling and this narration culminates, we have actually given some very practical ideas on what you can do to contribute to a better earth. So we would strongly encourage you to pick up a copy and read for yourself, because we don't want to spoil the fun for you. But remember this one message, that no matter who you are, where you stay, what you do, you have a responsibility towards the Mother Earth, because you are born out of it and you will go back to it in a sense. So it's very important that we remember that ultimate reality, and therefore make sure that in whatever way possible, small or large, we are contributing to creating a more sustainable planet.
Yeah, but if you want some pointers, right? So, um, eliminate single-use plastic in your life. Single-use plastic is not just what you buy, you use it and throw. No, any plastic which stays with you for at least 4 days, right? A Starbucks cup, when you bring it home and then after 4 days it becomes unusable, that's also single-use plastic. Right? Urban waste segregation, use of solar, use of electric vehicles, um, energy efficient implements at your house, minimum 4 star and above, right? 4 star and above. Um, grow plotted plants in your house. Even if you have a one room house, at least grow one gamla mein, one money plant at least, right? In your house. Try and use waste to energy. Use your organic waste from your house and see whether you can have an organic waste composter in your apartments and residences. Societies. Uh, what do you call? A sort of the same shop in your house. Three people go at the same or different time. 7 o'clock, one person goes. 7:30, one person goes. 8 o'clock. Combine and go once. Modi has, as it is said, carpooling and all those sort of things, right? To your offices, and you use public transport. Start carpooling. These are simple, simple activities. Take a bag to the market. Right? Wear khadi clothes instead of uh, what do you call those fiber polymers,
Polyester.
right? Polymers. You know. Support one domestic animal, something like that. Those sort of things.
Think these were very actionable advice, and I'm glad that you mentioned it because it's very important for us to also implement them on a day-to-day level so that we can actually preserve environment and have sustainability more and more. So now I would like to just open the floor for questions. So it's entirely up to you. You can either send your questions in a chat, or if you want to ask the questions directly, it's always a good option. Any anything that you have to ask, or anything that we can maybe do better. And of course, this is something that we will also be sharing to a larger audience. So the questions will keep coming, I'm sure, once it's out to a larger viewer. But if anybody has any questions, it's a perfect time to ask. And besides that, if I can ask a question, since I'm quite intrigued by how the number of pointers that you mentioned. So, of course, one of the angles that the book has, of course, subtly, is also activism, because there is a lot of environmental activism that's very prominent, where say people actually in a very overt way talk about this issue by through political campaigns, through other mechanism to raise more awareness. But then you've taken the path of stories. So how was it for you to blend activism and stories? And have you seen better impacts when you take the lanes of narrative for a cause like this?
So, I'll give you some examples, right? In my own corporate life, I help clients with their sustainability journeys. And one of the things that I've found when I talk to clients is when you're able to narrate to them how that has made a difference for others, it makes it more relatable. And that's one of the key reasons why we have tried to make sure that we are showing how this has been done in the past by someone, so that at least some of these stories stay with the reader, and that can then form the basis for that bias for action that Shrikant talked about. So that's something that I've seen work very, very effectively, where when you are able to tell this in the form of existing situations where you're able to talk about things that have happened, it's a lot easier to relate. So that is where we have tried to bring in without it being over the top, because we also realize that people have their own lives, and being aware is obviously a very essential trait, but it is also something that people need to spend time on. So the idea is to make it easy for you to go through that journey, not for it to become an all-encompassing passion. So it's that piece that we constantly focus, is where when during your day, whenever you've got a little bit of time, or whenever you think that you can just sit down for a few moments, you can use that to heighten your awareness. So that is a key message that runs through the entire book, in this case.
In this book, when we wrote words, we didn't try to make them read words. We made them see things actually. And that's both our style of writing is that you show them an image, show them an action, and this book is action actually. Activism sometimes is they fold hands and say you are wrong, you are wrong, you are wrong, you are wrong. No, okay, what's the solution? No, you figure it out. It's not that. This book tells you solutions. It is, if you got to change the system, you have to be in the system. I believe in that actually. So you got to have skin in the game, just not keep pointing out faults in other actions. That is that zone actually, right? So you got to be, if you want to change the system, be in the system, and then come out with solutions to issues rather than finger pointing.
I have a very, very good question, sir. So, has sustainability remained an abstract idea for the common person? So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think thank you so much, Shivakumar, for that question, because this is exactly the question that we have tried to answer through all of the books that we have written. Is we don't want sustainability to be an abstract element for the common man. And to Shrikant's point, we are not talking about sustainability in very high level terms. We are talking about very practical day-to-day things that any ordinary person can do. You don't have to be a superhuman. You don't have to be an active, passionate, environmentalist. Just through your own lives, you can make a substantial contribution. And when this becomes a way of life for people in a culture, in a community, in a city, country, that's when things start to change. So while, yes, it is something that is seen as a very abstract concept, it is our humble effort to try and bring it to the common man's level so that they can act on it. That's my response to that question.
No,
Shrikant,
we
any
have
thoughts from you?
the word sustainability has purposely been made appear complex actually. And so when you go to the depth of it and the standards and the scope one, scope two, scope three emissions and all those sort of things, the jargons that they use, it is a beginner generally gets intimidated. Oh, my God, how do I enter this subject? I don't have training and all those sort of things. But I'm telling you, it is all about maintaining balance. Right? Our parents have said when you leave the room, switch off the light and fan. Right? Don't waste water. Those sort of simple things, when you start absorbing in your daily life and you extract it and you bring it to your professional life, it's all the same. It's all the same. We've just made it interesting through stories. That's all. Yeah.
That
Very,
that
very easy subject to implement and not get swayed by the jargon that these one. It is over jargonized actually. Very simple subject.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much,
that
sir.
question. Really appreciate.
Yeah. And it's great that you have actually addressed it so well, because that will also motivate more and more people to not just pick up the book, but actually learn about sustainability more and more. I mean, you have maybe demystified it for the people, because
Absolutely.
that's clearly say something that people believe that it's not our cup of tea, it's too technical for us, which is why books are so important, because they make you more aware, they make you more connected with your environment, society, and culture. Now that we've sort of come to an end of our discussion, and it has been a very enriching conversation. So, any message that you have for your readers who is who is maybe choosing to pick up the book, or anything that you want to convey to all of us who are going to listen to the conversation eventually? So, just last thoughts from both of you.
See, I would say think of sustainability like you do about money. Okay. Every aspect of our lives today, when we take decisions, okay, we think in financial terms. Even though you are not a chartered accountant, okay, even though you are not an expert at finance, finance is intrinsic to your life at every moment. Think of sustainability in those terms. You need not be an environmentalist or a sustainability expert, but if you are able to integrate sustainability, environment, Mother Earth into your decision making, small to smallest decisions, that is where we will really be able to make it a central theme of our lives as a civilization. So that's the message that I would like to leave our readers with. Over
Yeah.
to you, Shrikant.
Yes. I have a question, quick answer before that. One more question for both of you. So, is sustainability seen only from the common man point of view? And we've talked about it. What about celebrities, politicians, and other influential people? I mean, what is your stand on those people maybe looking at environment and sustainability? So, yeah, over to you.
We are all in the same earth, right? And we are not teaching sustainability here. Or this book is not a teaching document. It is a imbibing document. While we have shaped it like a workshop, whether you are a man, woman, a neutral gender, celebrity, influencer, X, Y, Z, the rich or poor, middle class, low middle class, whatever it is, it impacts your life. A polluted air is a polluted air. A bad water is a bad water. And
Correct.
everybody, irrespective of status in the society, want good air to breathe, uh, um, good place to stay, good. These are all basics, right? And and politicians, it is all the more important. They promise all these things, right? And they promise all these things, smart cities, all those things. When we say smart cities, it is just not technology and optic fiber and digital, all those sort of things. A butterfly should be able to coexist in a concrete jungle. Can we do that? Right? So it it that fragile being, can it, so can we maintain biodiversity in an urban space? So designing, planning, running, managing in dense urban areas is all part of, and that's what we try to bring to for a more balanced, harmonious life through stories.
Thank you so much.
Suresh, for And Suresh, for me, I think, it's good that you raise that point. And I think what we are trying to do is actually through these actions, the more people pick up books like this, the more conversations that happen, the more the likelihood that it will reach those people that you're talking about, that it will reach the circles that the politicians are in, the celebrities are in, because more people are talking and they will hear more of those conversations. So if you know of politicians, if you know of celebrities who are not acting pro environment, that will change when more conversations happen around them. And
True.
that hopefully will be possible when more of us start talking about that like we do about finance today. You know, today, all our decision making, whether you are a billionaire or you are a beggar on the road, whether you are the leader of a country or you are an entrepreneur, finance is integrated into your life. See if you can do that for yourself, for the people around you, and the associations that you have, your friends, your family, your networks. Start talking about that, because then it's going to reach the ears of the people who you feel are not acting pro environment. Only then will change become possible, when more conversations happen, so that the celebrity, he or she might have a child who's studying in a school. When those conversations happen in a school, that's when it goes back home. When the celebrity meets a friend who has actually read about this and understands this and starts talking to her about it, that's when she starts thinking. So that is how we, in our own humble way, are trying to bring in that change. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much, sir. Once again, I think it was such an enriching conversation. With this, we've come to the end of another episode of Vitasta Dialogues. Thank you so much once again for joining. I would like to thank Srikant, sir, and Indrajit, sir, for your time and for such an enriching conversation and dialogue. And I'm sure when the readers will pick up the book From Breath to Belonging, they will take with them so much from your work, from your stories, and most importantly, from all the pertinent issues that you have raised in the book.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the time. And it was a pleasure to be part of this podcast. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vinny. I really appreciate the moderation, and I hope our audience also were able to get a good sense of what the book is about. We would love for you to pick up a copy and share with us your thoughts on LinkedIn and other social media. Thank you for your time.